Welcome to the channel, friends. So today's project in the garage, I will be covering the custom mounting of my tiger tail on my Polaris ATV. Now, a lot of you viewers have asked me how I mount the tiger tail and how it's done, so I will be covering that. So if this is something that's going to interest you, stay tuned, and I hope you enjoy the video. Alright, so welcome back. Here is my XP1000, and I will be going over how I mount my tiger tail. So for you guys that haven't seen it before, this is what it looks like right now. Let me get some more light for you guys. So essentially I have it recess mounted behind the bumper, and it's attached to the frame of the machine. So it's attached to this upper portion of the frame. And what I did was I just bent down that like little tail that's on there from the factory and use it as a mounting point. So let's take a look from this side. As you can see, it's nice and recessed, and it does not hit the bumper either. It does not make contact. So the problem I was having before was I mounted it with the normal mount, the receiver mount that comes with the tiger tail, which is kind of heavy, by the way. That's an additional 15 to 20 pounds on that mount. And it also sticks out, like out to here, even if you have it elevated up as much as you can. What happens is it does stick out quite a bit, and it ends up rubbing on the either side of these rails when you have it mounted. So the actual, like the casing of it will rub. So I had to adjust it, so I put like electrical tape around the shank that goes in the receiver to make it have less slop. And that worked out for a little while, but then it annoyed me because every time I would go out trail riding, pretty much what would happen is I would end up hitting the bottom of that mount. So it was sticking out to here, which is past the tires. So as I'm going in mud holes and, you know, kind of doing my thing, trail riding and getting into some like deeper stuff, I would end up hitting and bottoming out on it with it in the back. And it would always hit on stuff. So then I decided, let me just try to mount this up somewhere so it's out of the way. And pretty much just like you see it here, it works awesome. It really does. It's out of the way. You can get rid of that mount, and it's a much lighter weight solution. So it attaches with 4 bolts in there, and I'll take it apart for you guys, and I'll show you exactly how it mounts. So don't worry, I'll get into the details of it in just a few minutes. But so that's how I have it mounted. It's recess mounted. It's a custom mount, pretty much. There's really nothing really needed. All you have to do is bend out that factory tail that's on there, and I'll show you what it looks like on my girlfriend's machine. So right there is the factory tail. Let me try to put this light here so you guys can see. Okay, so what I did was I took this and I basically bent it out flat so it's parallel with the rest of the frame. I bent it out with a dead blow hammer and a combination of a adjustable wrench that I would put on the flats here, and then slowly pry it down on either side until I brought it all the way down and made it nice and parallel with this piece of the frame here, so it basically would stick out. And the good thing is that there's some through holes on here, as you can see. All I did was put some large washers on there on the bolts and nut, and I went through the through holes and used that as a mounting platform for the tiger tail. It's as simple as that. Now you can come up with a more reinforced like mounting solution for it. I didn't find the need to do that because this is pretty heavy duty stuff by itself. So when you bend this down, you have plenty of purchase on there to mount the tiger tail. I've towed other ATVs with no issues at all. It does not shift or move. Once you tighten down those 4 bolts, you're good to go. I was deciding to extend this with like a 1/4-inch plate and tie it into the rest of the frame. But honestly, I haven't found the need to do that. I will do that down the road if I really feel that I need to. But just bending this tab down all the way without, you know, gouging up your paint is a good solution. It really is. So that's all that needs to be done. I just wanted to show you guys the factory kind of look on it if you're not familiar with it. But I also want to mention something about the grab hook that I added to here. There is some adjustment when it comes to the mounting of the grab hook. So what I have here is a half-link grab hook, which allows you to capture your load because there is a keeper on the hook. I just think this is a much safer way of doing that. and having the ability to capture what you're towing. So I added that, which was simple. Basically just ground off the old one and attach this. This kind of installs with just a pin. And then I went ahead and raised the location of this slot that holds the grab hook. So the way it comes from the factory with the original hook, it kind of sits lower. So what I did was I just like unbolted that and raised it up all the way, and I tilted it so this hook here kind of sits better. Before it would not sit right, it kind of sit at a weird angle, and this thing was like kind of out too much. And the eyelet here on the rope itself was kind of pitched where it would not sit all the way in and kind of lock up correctly. So now it locks up correctly like it should because I raised that mounting slot on the grab hook, which is this part right here. When I take this off, I'll show you guys in detail what I'm talking about. So don't worry, I will go over everything. So that's the KFI Tiger Tail installed on my machine. I'm going to go ahead now and disassemble it from the machine and show you guys what it looks like in the workbench up close and kind of discuss the details further. Alright, so there is the Tiger Tail mounting platform. That's how I have it set. Like I said, you just bend out that tail till it becomes flat and parallel with the rest of that subframe or frame. And you mount the Tiger Tail right on top. So you go through those 2 through holes, and then the other 2 bolts will end up going right through here. Or in the front here, I forget. But anyways, you end up attaching to it, and your main attachment point is going to be these 2 through holes here in the back where it's cut out. So you end up tying in there, which is plenty of tie-in for that Tiger Tail. And then you attach with the washers on the bottom of this tab on the outside, and you kind of grab it and attach that way. So it's attached in 4 different areas, but only 2 of the areas, 2 of the through holes are actually holding in the Tiger Tail fully. But that's okay because that's all you really need. Those are some pretty big bolts, and this sheet metal here is actually pretty thick, so it's like not quarter inch, it's like a 1/8 of an inch, about that. So that's what the platform looks like when you have the Tiger Tail off. That's how I have it for right now. Like I said, I might go ahead in the future and reinforce that or weld on like a 1/4 inch plate to the frame and put an actual proper bolt pattern in there. But that's extra work, you know. If you can get by here with just this and it performs well, why not? So far I've had it like this for like a year or so, maybe a year and a half, and I haven't had any issues. And as you can see there, it hasn't done any damage to the actual frame or anything. The welds are still good. Nothing is bent or contorted or malfunctioning. And let's go now to the workshop, and I'll show you the underside of the Tiger Tail and everything else in detail. Alright, so welcome back here on the bench. We have the Tiger Tail, and we have the hardware that I use. I believe I reused the Tiger Tail hardware, but I did add these thick washers. They're nice and wide. It's really important to use nice, thick, wide washers. And some split washers, locking washers. So that basically will lock in the Tiger Tail once you mount it up. So I'm pretty sure these come with it. They have a nice locking square on them so they fit into the Tiger Tail. And essentially, I'll go ahead and just do one of these for you so you can see how it mounts up. You put your washer on there, then the lock washer, and then your nut. And then you go ahead and then tighten it down. Now, do that for all 4 corners here on the Tiger Tail, and that's how I mount it. This nice, big, thick washer, the thicker the better, and the wider the better on this, because that way you can come in contact with that tail or that tab and kind of crush down on it and really hold on to it, especially those front two bolts on the Tiger tail. They're not through holes. They're just kind of like grasping onto that tab via the washer, just like clamping down on it, which works out just well. I have no issues. Like I said, it doesn't come misaligned or anything. I do attach these last, though. I do cinch up the ones in the back, which have the through holes first. Make sure the alignment is correct, cinch it up, and then go ahead and install the hardware for the ones in the front. So it's as simple as that. You know, you're going to have some extra washers that are wide and thick, and then you're good to go. So the hardware is really important. That way you have a nice purchase in the bottom of that little tab. That's a factory tab that gets bent down. And then the other thing I want to touch on is what I did here with the mount for the grab hook. So, like I said, the original hook is shorter. It's a lot smaller than this. This, I believe, is a 3/8 half link grab hook. So it fits good, but you just have to relocate this mount here further up and then like realign it so it fits the hook better. And the hook just drops in there without any issues. So as you can see, it just stays in there. I can open the keeper up and then take it out or put it back on without any like big fuss. So that works out good. And by relocating this bracket up, you end up allowing yourself to reposition the eyelet so it cinches up better. It locks into place like it should, and it goes right into the mouth of that, kind of like that frame piece that accepts the eyelet. So you will have to end up, so there's two bolts here, as you can see, for this mount. You only end up using one of them. So one of them, it ends up just acting as a stop. So as you can see there, it's threaded on, that nut there, and then cinched up. And then you will end up resting the top of this up against the housing of the Tiger tail. So it's pivoted all the way up on this right here. And then you just tighten this down here, this one bottom bolt, and that's enough to hold this thing tight. It doesn't come loose or anything. It doesn't shift. So that's what you have to do. You have to raise this thing up all the way up on the slot and then kind of cinch it forward like that and then tighten it up. Now, if you use a different hook or you stay with the standard KFI grab hook that they provide you, then you don't have to worry about this. You keep it in its original position and you're good to go. But I had to fix this because sometimes this hook actually would come undone, because all I would do when this was in its original position, let's try to get this thing out. So in its original position, this hook would end up just attaching like that. Okay, because I did not have enough room because this was like lower and it was not repositioned. So what would happen is I would just have it sitting on there like that, but then when the ATV like shakes around and you're riding, this could come loose, and then it would come loose and then start like bouncing around and hitting stuff. So the way around that is either stay with the factory hook that they give you, or if you go and change out your hook like I did, you're gonna have to reposition the bracket that it mounts to, which is not a big deal because now it fits in there perfectly and it will not come out no matter what I do, no matter how bad the ATV shakes or rattles. It's just gonna stay captive, which I like. So that's my Tiger tail. This is the UTV version because it has the 12-foot rope, which is thicker. Looking back on it, I should have got the 15-foot rope, which is on the ATV models. The only thing with that is that you cannot get the gray rope in the 15-foot ATV version. That's why I went with a thicker one, even though I don't need it. So I wanted to have a gray rope versus the orange that comes with the, there's a brand, the original maker of this. KFI is not the original maker. There's an actual different company. I forgot what it is, but the original ones come with an orange rope, which isn't too bad, but gray just looks better in my situation with my ATV. So that's why I jumped with the bigger one. You don't have to. You actually get more length if you go with the ATV version versus the UTV version. So that's up to you, but that's how I mount it on there. I'm going to go ahead now and put it back on the machine and show you exactly what it looks like from the underside and kind of go through that process. All right, so here is the tiger tail mounted back up. I'll go ahead and show you guys from the bottom what it looks like in kind of the sequence when I bolt it down. As you can see, it's back in its spot. And very simple to hook this thing up. Let me get into position here. So I'm going to try to show you guys from the underside here. Let's get a nice wide angle. All right, so we have 4 bolts, and like I said, tighten up the back ones first and pull the tiger tail to the back of the machine. That way it takes all the slack out, okay? Once you do that, hold it nice and centered on the machine, and then tighten those rear bolts, the furthest bolts here, so the ones in the back. Then once you do that, you'll have that nice and tight, and you kind of have your alignment. Then, after that, you go ahead and tighten your front bolts, but when you tighten your front bolts, you go ahead and push them back towards the front of the machine. That way they cinch up on the tab. So as you can see there, hopefully, they're touching on the tab. So they're grasping on the tab, they're clamped down, holding onto the tab, so just for that much more added strength. Now, you can go ahead and put a piece of, piece of flat stock across that if you'd like, and tie that together, and then have that, kind of brace across that whole factory tab. That's very possible too. That's actually a good idea. And I might do that myself. But essentially, the front 2 ones are just clamping down on the very end of that tab. So that's the way I do it. That's what it looks like from the bottom. And it's very simple. It's just basically, you have 2 bolts attached to the through holes there, and then these front 2 are just clamping down on the end of it, which once it's clamped down, it does not move, so you have nothing to worry about. So it's nice and centered on the machine. I made sure of that because it's very possible for it to become skewed. So you want to center it on the bumper or the machine itself, and you're good to go. And that's the complete install of a recessed tiger tail. And that's how I do it. So I hope that answers your questions, you guys that are asking. It's a lot simpler than you think. So I finally took the time to show you guys. And that's it, guys. All right, so happy riding. Well, guys, that's it for today. I really hope you enjoyed the video. And if you have any questions or comments, please place them right down below. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel already, please go ahead and do so. I want to thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.